How horrible is the abortion procedure? This video will take you to the horrifying truth about abortion. According to the statistics, 2.5 fetuses are aborted for every child born in China. China is now the world's leading abortion provider with 13 million abortions per year, so abortion has become very common. But it's a horrifying procedure. It's not for the faint of heart. First, the doctor uses a dilator to force the cervix open. Then they insert a seaweed dilator into the cervix to gently and naturally dilate the cervix. When the cervix is dilated to the right size, the doctor inserts a tube into the uterus and sucks out a little bit of the amniotic fluid. Next, the doctor inserts fetal scissors into the uterus to cut the developing embryo into pieces. Then the pieces are pinched out of the uterus. But that's not enough to get rid of the remaining pieces. The doctor then takes a curette and inserts it into the uterus to clean it out, till the remaining debris is completely removed. This process is called complete curettage of uterine cavity. It's as painful as a woman giving birth. After just 10 minutes, an unformed baby is brutally wiped out. But the damage of abortion is far more than that. Once the uterus is not clean, the foreign matter left in the uterus will not only cause various gynecological diseases, and the scraping of the uterus also causes great damage to the uterine lining. The uterine wall will become thinner and thinner. It can cause lifelong infertility, and even cause uterine cancer. Ultimately, it will bring both physical and psychological harm to women. So men must take care of their girlfriends. Women in love should also learn to protect themselves. Don't cause irreparable damage out of love.
Actually, we were really raised by a handful of shit and piss. You may not believe me when I tell you, since we were 2 months pregnant, we've been eating and pooping in our mother's womb, drinking and peeing at the same time. In a sense, the amniotic fluid is full of urine. You start peeing while you're still floating in the amniotic fluid. This urine goes straight into the amniotic fluid. We've been gulping down amniotic fluid since we were learning to swallow. In other words, we've been drinking pee for a long time since we were born, as disgusting as that sounds. But urine at that time was basically sterile, even cleaner than our current saliva. But what's really gross is drinking urine mixed with feces. You may ask, can fetuses poop too? As the saying goes, if you eat, you have to poop. So where does the feces go? In fact, during the 10 months of pregnancy, all the nutrients we need for our growth are transferred to us by our mom through the umbilical cord. And the wastes we metabolize during our development will be digested and broken down through the intestine to form a sticky stool, but it's not really feces, it's dark green mucus. Early on, when we don't have control of our anus, these impurities are swallowed when we gulp down the amniotic fluid, or transported to mom through the umbilical cord, and mom will help us expel it. Under normal circumstances, we won't have a bowel movement until we're born. But we can't rule out special circumstances, such as when the fetus is deprived of oxygen, may be unable to control the anal sphincter. So the fetus passes in the amniotic fluid. That's called contaminated amniotic fluid. If the fetus is immersed in contaminated amniotic fluid for too long, the fingernails, umbilical cord, and placenta are almost always stained with the color of meconium. So what color were you when you were born? What would happen if you were sucked into an airplane engine? First, don't panic. Incidents of people being sucked into airplane engines have occurred in many countries. In 2015, on the Reagan aircraft carrier, a ground crew member was sucked into a jet turbine engine while inspecting a fighter jet. It's said that he was instantly turned into a mist of blood at the exhaust without even having a chance to scream. Is the power of an airplane engine really that exaggerated? Take the Boeing 737 as an example. At the front of its engine are densely arranged blades. Most of these blades are made of very hard materials like steel or titanium. When the engine starts, their rotation speed can reach at least 30,000 rotations per minute, and the air intake can reach 320 kilograms per second. It's pretty much like a large meat grinder. If a person is sucked into it, there's almost no chance of survival. The first obstacle is that these high-speed rotating blades will shatter the human body. Although some limbs might fall off, most of the shattered remains would be compressed, going through the hot turbine and then expelled from the exhaust. In the end, one could say that nothing remains. Moreover, since there's no protective cover in front of the engine, it can not only suck in humans but also birds. For instance, in the 2009 Flight 1549 incident, which had to make an emergency landing on the Hudson River, both engines lost power 6 minutes after takeoff due to birds being sucked in. The aircraft had to make an emergency landing on the Hudson River. Engines worth hundreds of millions could only be written off. So, if you were the one being sucked into the engine at that moment, how would you escape?
If you're attacked by a Komodo dragon, here's what you should do. Stay calm. Don't panic. Crying and making loud noises will attract their attention. Maintain eye contact. If a Komodo dragon is staring at you, it might have marked you as a target. Keep eye contact to let it know you're aware. Slowly, back away. Move away slowly without turning your back on the dragon. Retreat to a safe place where there are other people or obstacles. Run if necessary. If the dragon starts to chase you, you can try to run. Komodo dragons are fast but have limited endurance. A short burst of sprinting can help you escape. Use zigzag movements. When running, use zigzag movements to disrupt the dragon's pursuit. Turning is a challenge for them. Climb a tree. If possible, climb a tree. Komodo dragons are ground dwellers and cannot climb trees. Avoid water. Komodo dragons are adept swimmers. Avoid jumping into water, as they can follow you. Stay calm if bitten. In the unfortunate event of a bite, don't panic. Keep still. Komodo dragons are scavengers, and their mouths are filled with bacteria. Rapid movement can make the situation worse. Seek medical attention. After escaping or incapacitating the dragon, seek medical attention for the bite. Komodo dragon bites can lead to serious infections. Self-defense. In self-defense, use whatever you have on hand as a weapon, like sticks, rocks, or even your backpack. Aim for sensitive areas like their eyes or snout. Remember that Komodo dragons are formidable predators, and it's best to avoid interactions with them in their natural habitat. This advice is for emergency situations where escape isn't possible. Your safety should always be the top priority.
This is a kobodai fish. This fish is impatiently waiting for the human to crack the snail to feed it. The interesting fact about this fish is that it can switch its sex from female to male. The sex transformation may take months by changing its appearance and behavior. Moreover, you can only find them in the Pacific Ocean around Korea, China, and Japan. Every evening, this grandpa takes his dog to the kids' playground to have fun together. The grandpa likes to put his dog on the swing and lifts him high in the air, making the dog laugh happily. Sometimes he lets his dog hop on the spinner, and he twirls the dog around as if it were his child. When they both feel tired, the grandpa gives his dog a ride home on his motorcycle's back seat. They enjoy traveling together, making each day full of joy and love. This fish has a flat body with no tail fin and swims by flapping its large fins on the top and bottom. Meet the ocean sunfish, aka the mola fish. It is the heaviest bony fish in the world, weighing up to 2,300 kilograms, which is heavier than a typical great white shark. It can also grow up to 3 meters in length and sustains itself by consuming jellyfish, squid, and small fish. Despite not having a tail fin, it is an excellent swimmer and can maneuver by flapping its dorsal and anal fins to accelerate, change direction, and move horizontally. Moreover, it can leap out of the water, creating a splash upon landing, and produce 300 million eggs at once, which is more than any other vertebrate. You can often find this fish near the water's surface in tropical and temperate oceans because it enjoys sunbathing, which helps warm up its body after deep dives in search of food.
Many of you must have never seen this toy before. Do you know how this tin frog actually achieves its jump? We take apart a frog to see its internal structure. First of all, there is this sheet steel bar. Roll it up, it has an elastic potential energy, which is the power source of all clockwork toys. A gear and a key are installed, and a simple power system is completed. Tightening the clockwork stores the elastic energy, and when released it turns the gears. In order to be able to produce more circular motion, it is necessary to install another such drive gear, which in turn drives a pinion output. At this point we tighten the wind up and see this eccentric shaft turn rapidly. We install the frog leg again and tighten the clockwork to try. At this point you will see that no beating is achieved. This is because the winding alone cannot overcome the gravity of the movement, and the kinetic energy is quickly released when the movement is picked up. Note that the key point is that we also need such a spring, so that it is connected to the movement and the frog leg, so that even after tightening the winding, but due to the spring's pull, the energy of the winding cannot be output. But when placed on the ground, the movement falls under the influence of gravity and inertia, pulling the tension spring, and the eccentric shaft completes the upper half-axis movement. Next, thanks to the double action of the winding and the spring, the final jump is achieved. The spring again tugs on the frog's legs when suspended in the air, preventing it from swinging freely. After landing on the ground, with the cooperation of the clockwork, spring, eccentric shaft, gravity and inertia, the jump is realized again. This process is repeated until the potential energy of the clockwork is completely released. This is the working principle of the tin jumping frog, although the structure is simple, but the design is very clever.